If you are a teacher, parent, administrator, student, and/or anyone who loves reconnecting children with nature, and you want to figure out how to cultivate learning gardens and nature-based curriculum, then this is the podcast, the Outdoor Classrooms podcast. My name is Victoria Hackett. I am the founder of Outdoor-Classrooms.com and the Secret Gardens Nature Classes. I love witnessing the magic that happens when children are playfully learning outdoors. Observing the return of wonder and curiosity when children are interacting with nature is pure magic. This is the podcast that is going to help you capture children's interest and give you not only inspiration, but some real life strategies that are going to help you figure out how to use the outdoor space, your outdoor space, as a teaching tool, so you can enlighten the playful learning experience for young children. Welcome to our Outdoor Classrooms community. Hello, everybody. Today we have Michelle Borba. She is an internationally acclaimed educator and award-winning author known for her expertise in strengthening children's character and resilience. With a global reputation in bullying prevention and her impactful TED Talk called Empathy is a Verb, Dr. Borba offers pragmatic, research-driven insights drawn from the decades of experience working with over 1 million parents and educators worldwide. She has authored over 24 award-winning books, including a standout titles like Unselfie, Building Moral Intelligence, and her latest, Thrivers, Surprising Reasons Why Some Kids Struggle and Others Shine. Dr. Borba combines her deep knowledge as a former classroom and special education teacher to deliver her invaluable perspectives. Today, we're going to delve into insights from Thrivers and discuss the surprising reasons why some kids struggle, why others shine. And of course, we're going to be connecting this all to nature-based education and outdoor classrooms. Without further ado, Dr. Michelle Borba. Hello, everybody. We have Dr. Michelle Borba here. And she is the author of many, many, many books, but we are going to be talking specifically about Thrivers today. Hello, Michelle.
Oh, hello to you. I'm just so glad to be talking to you. Fun.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. So I understand you've been in the field of education for 40 years and as an educational psychologist and parent. So when did you first realize that this book, Thrivers, was needed? What inspired you to write the book?
what drove me to write it were children.
Mm-hmm.
I started interviewing, and I always do that. I do dozens of focus groups. Before I do a parent session or I go and talk to educators, and I do that all over the world, I ask them, can you just let me have a little focus group with kids? And the teens in particular were so right on the mark that said, we're the most anxious generation, we're stressed. We don't have ability to, one child said, we don't have any balance in our lives anymore. So I started looking at what the research said, my gosh, they're absolutely aligned with what the mental health industry is saying and what the kids are saying. And then it was, so what is missing in their lives? And that's when I came up with just the most fascinating research is on resilience. What does help kids bounce back and thrive?
That's amazing. And you've come up with these 7 principles.
Yeah, what I did was, first of all, as a teacher, I wanted to make sure that anything I came up with was something that we could teach. Or as a parent, so what am I going to do with this information? Can I use it with my children? And I found that, first of all, Victoria, there's some fascinating research that's been looking at cohorts of children for 40 years, the same kids, in all over the world. And what each researcher has been trying to figure out is if these are kids growing up in adversity, whether they're homeless, whether they're abused, whatever, can they bounce back? And they found that they can if they have 3 things going for them. The first thing is they've got to have a person in their lives that's caring and concerned, whether it's the teacher or the scoutmaster or the parent. The second thing is a place that helps soothe them, which is exactly what you are providing with.
Right. So then you weave in the outdoor classrooms there.
Weave in the outdoor classrooms. That's the perfect scenario for it. And the third thing is protective buffers or coping strategies. But I also found that there are 7 strengths that kids need. It's a rare kid that has all seven. It's a rare grown-up that has all seven.
Mm-hmm.
But these are the ones that if you have them, this is your plan for teaching or parenting from birth till, when the rest of their lives. Confidence seems to be critical. A child needs to know who they are, not what we want them to be. An
Mm-hmm.
outdoor classroom can do that beautifully because they have a chance to experience their strengths and capabilities. The second one is empathy, social connections. And again, an outdoor nature environment, that's where you learn social development. It's my turn and it's your turn. What do you think? How to disagree amicably? All those things. Empathy is core to reducing stress. The third one is self-control. And nature seems to be pivotal in being that place that helps that kid be able to breathe and just let go and relax. We overlook how simple that is to just open the door and say, go play. Fourth one is integrity. That's values. It's really a matter of what do I stand for so that when push comes to shove and that moment comes, I can stand up for myself or another. And then comes again, your venue, a curiosity. And
Yes.
openness, a problem solving. So when the push comes to shove and along the way, the real adversity does come, this child has an openness to themselves that go, okay, I can handle this. I'll take a deep breath and this didn't work, but here's what I'll try differently next time. That's
Mm-hmm.
curiosity. That's problem
Yeah.
solving.
Yeah.
And then comes perseverance, which is when you have a few of those, confidence or curiosity, you're going to keep on going. You can't just have perseverance alone. That's grit and you'll just tumble. But if you have a few of those, that's going to build you up. That's what's going to be the persevering piece. And finally comes optimism or hope. Can you imagine that? It's what every child and grown up needs right now in this world. The possibilities it's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get through this. That's what
Yeah.
a thriving child is.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. So these 7 traits and connecting them, I love how you have already connected them to nature-based education. But do they connect with family child, like young children? Can you talk a little bit about?
Start when they're 2. Start when they're
Mm-hmm.
1. In fact, we do beautifully when they're 1 or 2, because when they fall, we say, oh, that's okay. Get up. That's a good
Mm-hmm.
job. Keep on going. And we fail to do that when they're 11, 12, and 13.
Right.
Just opening the box. Sandbox is absolutely glorious for a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 40-year-old. Sit
Mm-hmm.
and just enjoy it. So it's, again, my turn and your turn. Oh no, Johnny, look at Johnny's face. How does he think he feels right now? So you're doing empathy building. See, each of these
Mm-hmm.
7 traits also have skills. So what I
Mm-hmm.
tried to do when I wrote Thrivers was help the parents see that, yeah, here's the big picture, what you're looking for. Now break it down so it's action and you can do it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's more of a verb. And one of the pieces that you do when you're young is help them start learning emotions by saying emotions.
Right.
Happy, sad. Oh, you look sad. What can you do about it? Or your friend, look at your friend's face or their body language. They're going to slowly evolve on those. But that's the basis of empathy. You can't feel for another person unless you know how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
So you're reading that emotion, and all of that in outdoor education is the perfect venue if you ask the right questions along the way.
Right. I think a lot of it is that those just the provocative questions that educators can ask of
Yeah.
themselves, but also I see educators as also parents. So asking questions of themselves, but also questions that they can ask their own children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like one of the best questions you can ask for empathy, which you can't do for a 1 or 2-year-old because they're
Right.
still learning the words of, in fact, the little ones, my doctoral dissertation was on what ages do kids learn emotions and what are the stages? And I discovered it was happy, then sad, then mad or angry, and then scared. Those are the 4. So if we just
Mhm.
teach those 4 when they're little, then it keeps evolving and you keep adding on. You don't stop with teaching emotions, but later on you can ask a great question. This is NYU came up with this one. How would you feel if that happened to you? What
Mm.
would you need in order to feel better? So what can we do to make you feel better? Now you get older. How do you think your friend feels? What
Mhm.
do you think he needs? What are you going to do to make him feel better? You just keep the same questions, but you scaffold it up or down. And what you're doing is still creating the conditions that help a child become the thriver.
Right. In your research, you interviewed so many children. It sounds like from
Yeah.
across the all over the place.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that experience and if you saw anything that was related to them being outdoors or in nature or anything?
Yeah.
But I would love to hear
Let's
just what
let's
that experience was like.
The fascinating thing, Victoria, does it make any difference where I talk to the kids? I just came back from Mexico City.
Mm,
And the same thing there. I was in Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi, the same thing. I'm going, this is just simultaneous. If it's a high tech industrialized country, which most are, and it's accelerated, the number one thing is I feel stressed. I
hmm
just don't know how to do it. The second thing that's really interesting, and teachers are also because they're seeing large cohorts of children, are seeing they're more socially regressed than they used to be. A third thing that I see is that I just don't know, says the kids, when my friend has a problem or when we disagree, I don't know how to speak up or what to say. And fascinating, college university presidents say the same thing. You're raising a really smart generation of kids, but they're risk adverse. They're
Right.
afraid to speak up. And in a setting like nature, they're going to be more likely to speak up. The third thing that keeps coming up is I don't seem to have balance in my life like I used to. And then
Mm,
these are teens. And I'd say, what does that mean, balance? Well, it means that I have a thing to do when my stress starts to build. So it just keeps building and building and building. I said, well, what would have kept you in more balanced? And one kid said, well, do you think ukulele is a high enough passion? This is an
mm,
incredibly smart kid. And I said, what do you mean? Do you love the ukulele? He said, yeah, I love playing it. As soon as I play it, I just start to decompress. I said, why aren't you playing it? My dad says it's not a skill that's going to look good on a college resume.
oh,
So he pulled that off. And it's like that
oh,
kind of a thing. I hear that over and over again, where
really?
once a child, a teen in particular, finds that coping strategy that's healthy. And it's not just looking at a cell phone. It's like
Right.
you watch your child on a cell phone. Every parent says, is that healthy for my child? I said, watch them. Are you seeing a change that after a while, when they're looking at the cell phone, all of a sudden you see them looking happier or healthier? And then you
Mm,
see every parent go, well, no, well, then it's not a healthy, happy habit, is it? It's
hmm
finding what would help that child decompress. And it makes no difference what it is. Natalie, she goes to Dalton. She's absolutely over the top prestigious in NYU. And I say to her, what are you doing to decompress? She says, I'm listening to Mozart. I said, that
mm.
wasn't what I was prepared to hear. How did you come up with it that Mozart helps you? She says, my mom. The
Oh,
power of a parent. She's
yeah.
really crafty, says Natalie. Why? What did she do? She plays just different kinds of music over our outdoor speaker system. And every time Mozart comes in, my whole body starts to decompress. I said, so what'd you do? She said, I just downloaded my iPad with Mozart. And every time I get stressed, I listen to Mozart. So the
Mm,
talking point here is just between you and me. Maybe one takeaway is watch your child. Do they
mhm,
have a coping strategy? So when the stress starts to build, they can dim it. Stress will slowly dim. It doesn't go from here to here, but it starts to build. And what we're seeing is so many kids are in the high anxiety realm here because they never learn the skill to decompress and take them down. Many kids, teens say it's going outside and doing basketball hoops. Just doing
mhm,
basketball hoops. I said, what is it? She said, I don't know. But as soon as I'm out there and I go outside, I feel better about it. Or bicycling. It's
mhm.
fascinating. What they're saying are easy things because coping strategies, when they have them and they know it, they can use the rest of their lives.
Yeah. I think with the outdoor classrooms, that
Yeah.
simplicity of just opening the door
Opening the door.
and the magic that happens when you can just go outdoors and let nature do its thing is a lot of what we talk about
Yeah.
here. And I love combining your research with just the
Oh,
research
thank you.
of nature-based education and all the benefits that come with it. It's a beautiful marriage.
Thank you. And I never thought of it that way, but it is because let me just validate you what you're doing again with one piece of research that just came to my head. This was during the pandemic when stress levels were really high. And what they did is they looked at two cohorts of children. These are large populations of kids. They're all living in New York, which is a big area when they're living in, apartments or complexes. But they looked at two groups. One of the kids went to school, getting on a bus and went to school. One of the groups of kids went to school by walking through a park. Which kids had lower stress? Walking through the park.
Walking through the park.
Just simple things we overlook. But I love what you just said. Over time, every time. Because it's the repeated concept that helps the child learn this is working. Or I like this.
Yeah. So with your 7 research points, is there one that stands out from you, then another one, or?
A couple of them. I think the first one that really stood out was curiosity. Because I guess I had not really seen it as a resilient trait until I started looking at the research. And first of all, the concern, outdoor education is just prime for curiosity. But the piece on it that was really disturbing was NASA studies that have been looking at our kids. And all of this is in Thrivers. Each chapter is one of those 7. But the chapter on chapter 5 was that the NASA studies were looking at our kids, and age 5, they're heightened in curiosity and creativity. And, oh, this is going to be so great. And then it starts to nosedive. And keeps nosediving and nosediving and nosediving because the things we used to do to help them be curious aren't there. We're, just the regimented study this, study this, study this doesn't help. But when you give them things that are more open, oh, I don't have the answer for it. Like one of the things that kids said that they absolutely adore is when a school or a home creates maker spaces. And I'm going, what's a makerspace? It's just stuff, just junk. Like what? Like when your computer doesn't work or you got a telephone or you got any kind of gadget, they put them on a table. And after school, the kids at Campbell Hall said, it's our favorite place, middle school. It's our favorite place to go every day after school, just a makerspace where we just tinker.
And can I let you know a secret? I have a Secret Gardens outdoor classroom, and we have a makerspace garden. So
it just works. See, but not realizing the simple things you can do in your own house. You can plant the garden. Kids love to be in gardens. My gosh, every teacher would say that's the best way to do math skills. Now go out there and measure how big is the flower and how wide is it and how much water, weigh it. How much water did you put in? What does this need to work? Let's make a bar graph, a pre and post. And, oh my gosh. And then also let's do something profound. Let's have FUN while we're doing it. Oh my gosh.
So that's children's resilience. And that's what you're talking about. Your research is sort of based around children needing these components to thrive.
Yes.
And if they don't necessarily have them, that's the children that are not necessarily thriving.
Yes. And what's happening is the correlation is because they don't have them, their anxiety also goes up.
Yeah.
Look, we're living in a very different world. It's more uncertain. It's accelerated. They're seeing doom and gloom. And all of us, our own stress levels as parents is going through the roof. So what are we doing to help ourselves thrive?
Right.
The same 7 work for the grown-ups as it does for the kids. And the cool thing is if you're out there in the nature with your child, I don't care if they're 13 or 3, you're going to be helping yourself as well as your child. And you're going to be discovering some things about them. Some things that you may not know. What do they gravitate towards? That's the first piece on confidence. I think what we need to do is become talent scouts. Watch your child a little closer to see what their own assets are. What do they love to do? How do they learn best? What's their learning style? What do they gravitate towards? What do they enjoy? You'll see that because a real talent is they have more tenacity in that area. They're more eager for it. Their attention span is longer. I think that's my favorite chapter in the whole book is chapter 1, because it'll give you a list of 120 strengths. Now take a marking pen, go through and watch your child a little closer, because a lot of those strengths we overlook. And we don't see, those are all ones we can nurture and recognize who our glorious child is. And by the way, you may have more than one kid. That kid's going to be different than that kid and that sibling and that sibling. Each child is uniquely wonderful. Figure out what makes them wonderful and thrive.
That's incredible. So your book is packed with simple strategies, practical ideas, which I love. Any additional, maybe step-by-step advice that we can give and then tie in the nature-based work for parents and educators? We have a lot of educators of early childhood programs that listen to this podcast. So
yay for an early childhood educator. Yeah. That's where I started. I love early childhood because we make such a profound difference on the child. We all need to put that as a footnote right on top of our desk. I think the first thing is problem solving.
Yeah.
And for a parent, I think the key that what the NASA studies are saying is a couple of points that I think are profound. The first one is when your child has a problem, don't rescue them. Instead,
thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that.
Wonderful. And they're going to have a problem outdoors. They're going to have a problem with how do I turn the water faucet on, or how do I do this, or how do I dig, or what's bothering you? Oh, then let's do something really wonderful. Let's think of what else we can do instead.
Right. Thank you.
For a little guy, I love it. Your hand is a pocket problem solver. And that is, Thumbkin is name the problem. Now name 1, 2, 3 things you could have done instead. Let's just keep ranking. Don't worry about what you say. The wilder, the better. I'll come up with an idea. You come up with an idea. And then of all the things you said, which is the one you're most comfortable doing? That's pinky. So let's do it. If you do that over and over again, I have kids who came back to me age 5, 10 years later. Hey, Dr. Borba, I'm still got my pocket problem solver. I'm just keeping it in my pocket. Great. Because you were helping them learn the process. I love Chapter 5 has so many different ways to help kids be more open, to think it through. But the biggest thing we do is we do the robbing of resilience by solving it for the child. Oh my gosh, how wonderful if you just let the kid think outside the box. And they will come up with some out of the box thinking. How great is that? But one of the best places that Thrivers also has, a place I visited that does it really well. And the place I visited for curiosity was off the chart, was MIT.
Oh, I'm in Massachusetts.
Oh, I love Massachusetts. I was just there, doggone it. We gotta stop by and play. Yeah, it was, okay, so I went to MIT. I spent the day there. And what I went to was my favorite place was called Lifelong Kindergarten.
Oh.
It's for 20, 30, 40-year-olds. But you walk in and the first place you see is they're trying to solve the problems of the world. I'm talking, the Surrey artificial intelligence, driverless cars. But what they're doing is they're playing with Legos while they're doing it. And I'm going, what are you doing? Well, if you make it more playful, you're thinking better. You can open up your ideas. The other thing that the same with your kind of environments. Not only is it a more playful environment, it's less stressful. If you're in an environment where your stress goes down, you're also going to be able to think outside the box. If you tell the kids, and that's the first thing that they do in MIT, you are here. But the best thing you better learn is that if you fail, it means you're good and good.
Yeah.
Because if you don't fail and make a mistake, you're not thinking outside the box. Then you think, what else can I do differently? We don't. Our kids are failure paralyzed. So it's okay to come up with an idea.
Oh, you are hitting the nail right on the head on so many of these. I'm like, hallelujah.
Yeah.
It's so true. And then there's all that research on play and the essence of play, and that there's so many children now that are not playing, and we're not giving them enough time to explore and have that curiosity.
I think
exactly what you're talking about.
The decline of play and resilience is highly correlated, because play is the avenue where a young child learns social skills and how to get along. Well, that's highly correlated to resilience. But play also does something else. It helps your child become more attentive and focus. And our kids are also attention deficit right now. Third is it helps your child learn how to a place where they can cope and get out of the stress. And stress is huge. And so they're play deprived. It's not one thing.
Yeah.
It's this multitude of this seismic force that's getting away from our kids. And as a result, their thriving abilities are kind of plummeting. And that's a tragedy, because they need those. Yeah, they need to be smart in that classroom, but they also need to be smart outside of how I handle life. And that's
Yeah.
what play and everything else will help your child do if they learn the skills. I'll give you dozens of skills in Thrivers. Each
Yeah.
chapter will give you a list, but you only teach one at a time. In
Mhm.
fact, I think it's really important to just hear one piece of research that I went, oh my gosh, this is the most profound thing I've ever heard. They looked at 50,000, this is England, but they looked at 50,000 individuals. They looked at people, this is teens to grown-ups, who had great mental health, poor mental health, and huge physical disabilities. They looked at 400 studies that the 50,000 people had been part of. Their whole goal was, can we improve mental health and well-being? And they found is, yeah, if you have good mental health or poor mental health or physical disabilities, you can improve any of that element if the person chooses one, no more than three simple things that they can do to help them cope. And they do the same thing when you say you don't have time, 1 to 3 minutes a day. If you
Yeah.
do the same thing repeatedly, don't skip more than one day, what will happen is your well-being will be going up, your resilience will go up, and you'll help your children thrive. You got
Mm.
to figure out now what is the 1, 2, or 3 things that's going to help
Yeah.
your child.
And it could be either the educator doing that for
Yes.
themselves first and then
Oh, yes.
doing it
That's the
for their
same
children, being
thing.
the model.
We forget that. The
Yeah.
same thing that we're doing to teach our kids, we've got to do for ourselves so we don't burn out. Because
Yeah.
burnout starts to build and build and build. And the biggest reason we're also burned out is that we're not supplying anything else in place. So we're allowing the burnout to keep going up. But if you find your replacer, what'll happen is you can dial that stress down and your
Yeah.
burnout will open up. The other thing you can do that's wonderful is you can do it with somebody else. So you're not so
Yeah.
darn lonely. I love
Yeah.
teachers that are doing just like, before school or after school, just mindfulness. If they love to do that, some of them are knitting, some of them are walking. Find what helps you and what helps your child, and we can all thrive together.
Oh, I'm so inspired. So I just love this merge. Can you tell me a little, have you seen any progress? Can you tell me a little bit about what you've seen? You've been talked to so many
Well,
communities.
what I'm doing that I'm loving to do now is getting on board with people, educators who are implementing and showing me how they're implementing and what works. And what I've discovered is there's no one way. So educator, don't say, I got to do it this way, or it's got to be this program. I think programs very often derail us. You got to be
Mm.
creative and figure out, you got to have the principles that work. Okay. So Temecula Elementary, that's in California. I walk in there and I walk in the school and went, holy baloney. Every place says it's Thrivers. The first thing they did is they made signs everywhere with every child that we're a thriving community. So
Oh.
it's just incredible because the first thing is it's visible,
Yeah.
but they also made it actionable because my favorite thing that they're doing is every morning every class does a class meeting, but the class meeting is their best practice of where they teach one of the thriving skills. Who's teaching the thriving skill? They have a Thriver squad of kids.
Oh.
And once a week, the Thriver squad meets together with the counselor. They volunteer. They said, this is something we want to do. So it's this cross section of kids. And then they video the kid teaching the skill on a flash drive. The flash drive goes to every teacher. I have never seen somewhere engage kids in the whole school because every kid's looking up at the smart board and it's a student teaching them the skill.
Mm.
So that's wonderful. There's one other one in Santa Fe. What they did is these are high school kids. Now I got to turn for just a minute because here's the book Thrivers. What the high school kids did was form a book club. Now, these are pretty high level kids, but every month they read one chapter. Then what
Mm.
they do is they take notes. They Zoom with me, but they take notes. And what are they taking notes of? The notes of the skills that they need, and they give the notes to their advisors saying, this is what you should be teaching us. And then the kids,
I just got goosebumps.
I think, how brilliant is that? Then the kids got on the phone to me, the kids, they're teens, got on, and their first question was, why did you write this book for parents and teachers? You should have written this book for kids. We need this stuff. So there's another one. It's like every school has a different idea and everyone is great and wonderful. There's another school that's doing the whole thing for teens, but it's service learning. But what they found, because giving back is one of the best ways, and that's chapter 2, empathy. But what they did is they realized they were doing it wrong, because too many of the kids said, we're doing this stuff because it looks good on a resume. So what interests you? What concern do you have about your community? And the kids listed from poverty to the homeless shelter to, hunger deprived kids. And then the teachers went to the community to find organizations that do provide that. The kids then signed up for which organization they want to help, but they did it, one more thing, only a team. They did it as teams. So you didn't have to do it alone. You did it with somebody else. When they come back from the service, what all of research says is reflection makes the huge difference. Now reflect upon what you did, or journal it, or share it. Did you see yourself making a difference? And all the kids would say, yeah, I saw myself as somebody who can give. I never saw myself as that before. You change the self-image of the child. That creates the thriver.
That's amazing. As you were talking, I was starting to imagine everybody that's in our community and listening is applying your thrivers into their outdoor classrooms community. And I love that it's been sort of this open-ended, there's no one program that you're suggesting and saying, this is the way it has to be done. I love how you provide, here's the research, here's the technique, here are the ideas.
Yeah.
And then they can shape and mold it and how it works.
Exactly. Because it always works better if you shape and mold it yourself, because you know the culture that you're dealing with, you know what needs they have, and you also know what they're going to buy into. Therefore, you're going to go one step more and you're going to succeed because of those elements.
I could talk to you all day long.
Likewise.
Is there anything else that I may have missed that you would like to share with our community?
Just one last minute words of all of this is, remember that helping your children learn to thrive or teaching them resilience is not a program, it's a process. The second thing is, it's never overnight. It's not a one skill or a one lesson or a worksheet. As one kid told me, it isn't a poster, it's a verb. I went, what does that mean? He said, you don't learn that stuff on a poster, you got to do it. And then if you do it, how cool. Only a kid would say that, and he's right on the mark. And it's not locked into your DNA or your birth order. We can do this at any age. And we've got to, because we're seeing a mental health epidemic that is unprecedented. It is a crisis. We're now seeing that adults are getting it just at a far level, and they're spilling it over. Your outdoor education is going to help kids thrive, because there's the place that they could put all of these elements. And that is the place where you could work with your communities, that they could also just help every other thrive together.
Beautiful. Oh my goodness. Michelle, I can call you Michelle. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode. Before we sign off, we have an exciting opportunity for educators looking to bring learning to life outdoors. Consider enhancing your teaching journey with the Outdoor Classrooms Teacher Certification Program. This program empowers educators to transform any outdoor space into a dynamic learning environment. By joining, you'll gain skills to inspire students and foster a deeper connection with the natural world. Interested in making a difference with outdoor learning? Visit www.outdoor-classrooms.com to learn more about enrolling in the certification program. Don't miss the chance to expand your teaching toolkit and inspire the next generation with the joy of outdoor education. Thank you for listening, and remember to subscribe to our podcast for more inspiring content. Until next time, keep inspiring young minds.